Well, the hurricane is passing by and it's time for cleanup.
It's the next day.
It is the day after. We're here in Naples, Florida, hoping everybody in Florida, as we record this, is doing better today than yesterday. And just our thoughts go out to folks who've had some just incredible, devastating effects from the hurricane that blew through Florida and really attacked most of the peninsula of Florida.
Oh, it's a sad day yesterday, this morning. They're really starting to understand, what hit, and I'm sure a lot of people have been seeing a lot of things on the news. We have been extremely lucky.
Super fortunate.
We live in a new community that has very good water management, and you can see the pond behind us. That's what it is. It's there to manage the street water, the runoff water, and that did a very good job.
Right. Now, as you said, those pond management, people might think, well, what do you mean? One of the big devastations from this particular hurricane was storm surge,
right,
which means for people who live not too far from the Gulf or from a bay or from a river, the wind direction of the storm for a long time yesterday, during high tide in particular, was pushing water up from the Gulf into all these tributaries and little causeways and things like that. And if those things spill their bank even, and then the rainfall's coming at the same time, you're getting 6 and 8 and plus inches of rain, these retention waters collect all that. And you made a great point. They kind of help redistribute it around an entire community rather than having it just sort of overflow.
With no place to go.
With no place to go.
Right, exactly. And so it did a fantastic job there. The newer construction codes that they build homes to, we were inside, we almost didn't hear anything.
It was incredible. Now we have storm, like the hurricane impact storm
impact-resistant
windows and doors
that we sprung extra for. So.
And it was well worth, paying extra for that as we built our home 5.5 years ago. Well worth the expense. And sometimes we talk to people about that when they're making choices to build a new home. Think about the things that are structural. Versus the design things. You can put crown molding in later, just as an example. But if you have to make a choice, maybe you want to prioritize hurricane impact doors and windows that are much harder to do and much more expensive to do later, and have the benefit of that just in case. And on a day like yesterday, very thankful. And it's incredible, really, the structure of the home and how the good integrity of it and how protected it all was.
And this was in our entire community.
And multiple people are commenting about wondering how their house might hold up. And
I went around and did some checks for a couple of people, checked their lanais, checked their house, and everybody. We lost some screens, and I'll show them to you. But for the most part, the house is fine.
Absolutely. So. There's no issue with the livability of a home. And if you get to a place where ripped lanai screens are what happened to you, thank you.
Exactly.
Just be so thankful that things could have been so different. And as you'll see, we'll overlay the things that happened to the screen. The winds were very strong, and they ripped screens out early, and we did not have the most devastating winds as we heard north of Fort Myers, etc.
Exactly.
They had much, much higher winds than we did. We did have a lot of water pouring up into the neighborhood, but it was contained, and we'll overlay some video in here as well of the whitecaps you could see.
That was on the pond.
On this pond behind us, which you can see.
On the natural waterway, which is even farther behind us.
You can see the water levels are fairly high, but it's just sort of a regular looking day.
From rainwater.
From rainwater, but we'll show you the whitecaps on that. And so you're right, there's just so many different influences of a storm like this, wind and rain and surge. And you have to be very, very thankful with some of the precautions you can take. Now, to be very honest, as you do some of the overlay of the screens here, you came out, didn't you? And you cut screens.
I did.
In addition to the fact that the wind took care of screens off the top.
I was worried that maybe the whole cage would go, which we saw some people did lose their cages in Irma
5 years ago.
5 years ago, so I was a little concerned with that.
I didn't see any of that here.
There was none of that, but I did go out and cut some screen, and maybe I didn't need to. I don't know, but
I'd rather replace the screen.
I'd rather
have $2,000,
why did you do that? Right, to relieve the pressure and give the wind someplace to go, because the cage itself can really hold up up to, some pretty strong winds, it's the screen that acts as a sail and may take the entire cage with it. So, but when you go back to the windows, that wasn't the only a safety net that we had. We also had our screen, storm screen that came down.
Right.
That
it covers the portion
lanai
of our lanai that has a ceiling. So before you come out here under the cage, there's a portion of your lanai that still has structural ceiling.
Right.
And then another kind of wall around it. And at the end of that structure, there is room to put down a storm shutter.
And you can see in the video here where the wind is blowing like crazy outside, and inside you can see our plants. They're not moving hardly at all.
No, they're just on the inside of the storm screen.
The amount of wind that these storm screens will stop is amazing, and I'm so happy that we had it.
That's right.
And so
people can see we pulled in. It's not pretty, but we pulled in our lanai furniture and other outdoor things. You took the screens off of our house windows, kept them all behind this storm screen, and all of those things just sat there quietly. Didn't get wet. Didn't get affected by the wind or any portion of the storm. So thinking about investing in a screen, if you have that kind of lanai that can support that in one or several areas, is something that may be worth the investment compared to the alternative.
I'm thinking I might expand and put it by our front door
we talked about
in the future. So that's the other thing that I think would really help us a lot. So that's,
So this is what the day after looks like. It's a little bit less humid.
Let me show you some of the screen damage here. You can see I lost 2 of them over here.
Oh, if you point up more, we can see this. They're just missing from the roof, right? You can just see now they're gone. Look at the light and the screen color.
Yep.
There's some that are just totally gone.
Here's a couple that I cut.
So you can see that those are just a slice rather than a complete tear.
And we lost our roof screens first. And I knew that they were looking a little thin, and I figured that I would wait until after hurricane season to take care of them. I'm glad I did, because I'd be replacing them again.
That's right.
So here's a couple.
Now
from
here's
the roof.
some. Yeah, again, just gone. Right. And outside of this one, if you come back down, you can see it's just sort of hanging in tatters.
Yeah.
That dark tattered look is really what used to be a screen up on the roof side of the lanai.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you can see, because the roof lanai came off, then stuff falls in your pool. There's screen material in there. There's all kinds of leaves and things like that that would never be there with the lanai screen. But it's I'm happy to have that as cleanup versus what the possibilities would be.
Right, absolutely.
So that's kind of what it looks like the day after, when you're in a very fortunate position of not really having a lot of structural issues at all.
Right, and you can see, our pool pump is working. We have electricity.
Yes.
We're very fortunate to have electricity. I had my generator ready, as did many people in the community, but luckily most of the community did not have to suffer any power outages.
Although across the county, many people did. And I think what you say, 80%,
about 80% of the people are out
right now, a day later. And there were probably more yesterday.
Exactly.
And we maintain power, but we do not have internet.
Right. At
the moment, kind of halfway through the day after, we don't have cell service.
Right.
And we don't have cable TV. So we feel really kind of cut off from information. Like, you just see the data that you assume is going to be available whenever you want it.
Right.
And we can't get that without going somewhere, driving somewhere to get internet.
I'll do it this way. No, I can't do it that way.
No,
I know what I can. No, you can't do that either.
You can't check the next radar. You can't check the weather forecast. You can't reply to a family member or a friend.
Exactly.
You have to go somewhere to get internet. We're very hopeful that'll be up soon again. That's a kind of problem I'm happy to navigate.
Right. So I might have to go someplace to get this uploaded, so we'll see how it goes.
That's right. We hope everybody stay safe. We hope some of these experiences that we're having might give somebody some thoughts about things they can do well in advance of a storm when they're making some home choice decisions here in Florida. And as we're working with our customers, we're happy to share our experiences, what has worked, what we would do differently. We learn something, every time we go through another season. But we're very, very thankful for all the support and outreach that we've had from friends and customers around the country and really around the world, checking in on us. And it's because you take precautions and hopefully, think about even location-wise where you want to be.
Exactly.
That can hopefully help you and your family. So hopefully those are some helpful tips.
Right.
But that's not all.
No.
And so you don't want to leave until you look at the video in the upper right corner where we review in a lot of detail hurricane preparedness tips for living in Florida.
And they came in handy this week.
They sure did. We'll see you there.
Bye now.